Welcome to Coins News Daily. Yes. Some rare Lincoln wheat pennies, including extremely rare silver errors, have shocked collectors with unbelievable auction prices. These tiny coins may look ordinary, but if you know what to look for, you could discover a hidden treasure worth thousands of dollars. Your pockets, your piggy bank, and your grandparents' old coin jars, because today's information could make you rich. If you enjoy rare coin discoveries and hidden treasure stories, make sure to support the channel. Subscription, like, share, comments. Me thanks with love for watching. Sparkling Heart. Coin 1. Today we are diving into one of the most mysterious and talked about coins in American history, a coin that looks simple at first glance, but has shocked collectors, historians, and treasure hunters across the country. This is the story of the 1944 Lincoln 1 cent with no mint mark that appears in silver, the legendary 1944 silver wheat penny. Imagine holding a coin that looks like every other old wheat penny, but it is not made of copper. It shines in a pale silver tone. It feels different. It sounds different when dropped on a table. And if it is genuine, it could be worth a life-changing amount of money. Let's step back in time. In 1944, the United States was deep in World War II. Copper was desperately needed for ammunition and military equipment. In 1943, the U.S. Mint produced steel cents coated with zinc to save copper. Those coins looked silver and were magnetic. But in 1944, the Mint returned to using copper, specifically recycled brass from spent shell casings collected from military training fields. These became the famous 1944 wheat pennies with the classic reddish-brown color. So here is where the mystery begins. If 1944 pennies were supposed to be copper, how can a silver-colored 1944 Lincoln cent even exist? The answer lies in one of the most fascinating mint errors in American coinage history. A very small number of leftover 1943 steel planchets, the blank metal discs used to strike coins, were accidentally left in the coin presses when production switched back to copper in 1944. When the presses began striking 1944 dies onto these leftover steel blanks, a tiny number of 1944 steel cents were born. These coins were never meant to exist, and that mistake turned them into legends. The 1944 Lincoln cent carries the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front, designed by Victor David Brenner. On the reverse, you see the two wheat stalks framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. On most 1944 pennies with no mint mark, the metal is copper and they were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, but the rare silver version is different. It is made of steel, coated with zinc. It weighs about 2.7 grams instead of the heavier 3.11 grams of copper cents. It is magnetic. That magnet test is one of the fastest ways collectors check authenticity. However, here is something very important: not every silver-colored 1944 penny is valuable. Many copper 1944 cents have been plated with zinc or chrome to make them look like steel. Others have been altered by removing the copper coating. Some are simply damaged or chemically treated. That is why serious collectors rely on professional grading services to confirm whether a 1944 silver penny is truly struck on a steel planchet from 1943. The genuine examples are extremely rare. It is believed that fewer than 30 authentic 1944 steel cents exist across all mints. When we talk about the 1944 penny with no mint mark in silver color, we are talking about the Philadelphia issue, and only a handful are confirmed. Think about that. Millions and millions of pennies were made in 1944. Over 1 billion, in fact. And among them, perhaps less than a dozen steel errors from Philadelphia. That level of rarity places this coin among the most desirable Lincoln cents ever produced. Now let's talk about what makes collectors' hearts race. The error itself is dramatic. It is not a small die crack or a minor doubling. It is a full composition error. The wrong metal was used. That makes it a transitional error, a coin struck during the change from one composition to another. Transitional errors are some of the most valuable coins in American numismatics because they represent a moment of change in history. The 1944 steel cent is the mirror image of the famous 1943 copper penny. In 1943, pennies were supposed to be steel, but a few copper blanks were mistakenly used. Those 1943 copper cents became million-dollar coins. In 1944, the opposite happened. pennies were supposed to be copper again, but a few steel blanks were left behind. This symmetry adds to the romance of the coin. Collectors love a story. And this coin tells a powerful one: a wartime mistake, a manufacturing oversight, a hidden treasure waiting in pocket change. Imagine the excitement of someone discovering one in circulation decades ago. A child noticing their penny sticks to a magnet. A bank teller spotting a strange color. A collector hearing a different ring when it drops on a counter. Even today, people still search rolls of pennies hoping to find one. Let's discuss condition, because condition is everything in coin collecting. If a genuine 1944 steel cent has heavy wear, rust, or corrosion, its value decreases. Steel coins are vulnerable to moisture and can develop spots or pitting. But if a specimen survives in high grade with sharp details, strong luster, and minimal surface damage, its value increases dramatically. Professional grading companies authenticate these coins and assign them grades. A certified example provides confidence to buyers and drives strong auction results. Now let's talk about the real market numbers collectors are eager to hear. A genuine 1944 steel wheat penny with no mint mark in circulated condition has sold for over $75,000. Higher grade examples have reached more than $100,000 at major auctions. Exceptional specimens in outstanding condition have brought well above $150,000. These are real market prices achieved in public sales. That is why this coin is not just a penny. It is a historical artifact. It is a six-figure rarity hiding behind a 1-cent face value. But remember, authentication is critical. Because the value difference between a common copper 1944 penny worth a few cents and a real 1944 steel era worth over $100,000 is enormous. If you ever find a 1944 penny that looks silver, do 3 simple checks. First, test it with a magnet. If it sticks strongly, that is a promising sign. Second, weigh it. A steel cent weighs about 2.7 grams. Third, never clean it. Cleaning can destroy value instantly. Instead, have it examined by a reputable coin dealer or professional grading service. The story of the 1944 silver wheat penny reminds us why coin collecting is so exciting. Every coin has potential. Every date tells a story. And sometimes, the smallest denomination can carry the biggest surprise. For collectors, this coin represents the thrill of the hunt. For historians, it represents a wartime transition. For investors, it represents a tangible asset with proven auction performance, and for everyday people, it represents hope, the possibility that something extraordinary could be hiding in plain sight. So next time you see a wheat penny dated 1944, do not ignore it. Look closely. Check the color. Test it carefully. Because if that coin happens to be struck on steel instead of copper, you may be holding one of the rarest and most valuable Lincoln cents ever created. A tiny silver mistake from 1944 that today commands over $100,000 in the collector market. That is the power of rarity. That is the magic of mint errors. And that is why coin collectors never stop searching. Coin 2. We are diving into one of the most mysterious, talked about, and shockingly valuable coins ever discovered in American pocket change history. And trust me, you need to listen very carefully, because this tiny 1-cent coin has sold for the price of a luxury house. Yes, we are talking about the legendary 1944 D mint mark silver wheat penny. Imagine holding a coin that looks completely ordinary. A simple Lincoln wheat cent, Abraham Lincoln on the front. 2 wheat stalks on the back. But hidden in that small piece of metal is a wartime mistake that turned a 1-cent coin into one of the rarest treasures in American numismatics. Let's go back in time. In 1943, during World War II, the United States needed copper for ammunition and military equipment. So the U.S. Mint stopped making copper pennies and switched to zinc-coated steel. That's why 1943 pennies look silver. They were made of steel, not silver, but they shine like it. Then in 1944, the mint returned to copper pennies. They even used recycled shell casings from the war. But something incredible happened at the Denver Mint. A few leftover steel planchets from 1943 were accidentally mixed in with the 1944 copper blanks. When those steel blanks were struck with 1944 dies and the Denver Mint mark, they created one of the rarest Lincoln cents ever made, the 1944 D steel wheat penny. Now here is what makes this coin so fascinating. It should not exist. The 1944 penny was supposed to be copper. If you find a 1944 penny that sticks to a magnet, you might be holding history in your hand, but listen carefully. Many people confuse this coin with altered coins. Some copper 1944 pennies are plated to look silver. Others are counterfeit. That's why authentication is everything. A genuine 1944D steel wheat penny will weigh about 2.7 grams, stick strongly to a magnet, and show no signs of plating bubbles or copper underneath. Collectors consider this coin a mint error of the highest level. It is not a small off-center strike. It is not a double die. It is a transitional error, meaning it was struck on the wrong metal during a transition year. Transitional errors are some of the most valuable coins in American history because they represent a mistake at a critical production change. Now let's talk rarity. Experts believe only a very small number of 1944D steel cents were ever produced. Some estimates suggest fewer than 10 examples are known to exist. Think about that. Out of billions of pennies minted, only a handful carry this mistake, and when rarity meets demand, the market responds. Collectors compete fiercely for coins like this. Auction houses showcase them as headline lots. When one appears for sale, the numismatic community pays attention. Condition also plays a massive role. Coins are graded on a scale from poor to mint state. A circulated example will still be worth an incredible amount, but an uncirculated specimen with strong luster and minimal marks can reach breathtaking prices. But what truly drives collectors wild is the story behind it. This coin represents wartime America. It represents human error in a system built for precision. It represents the thrill of discovery, the idea that even today, someone could find a life-changing coin in an old collection or inherited jar. And let's not forget the Denver mint mark. The small letter D under the date tells us it was struck in Denver. Without that D, the value changes dramatically. The 1944D steel cent is significantly rarer than most other variations from that year. Now imagine the excitement. A collector examines a group of old wheat pennies. He notices one looks slightly different. Slightly silver. Slightly unusual. He tests it with a magnet. It sticks. Heart racing. Hands shaking. A simple penny suddenly becomes one of the greatest mint errors ever discovered, but always remember, authentication is critical. Professional grading services confirm the metal composition and verify originality. Because when a coin can be worth hundreds of thousands, counterfeits follow. Let's also understand why collectors love Lincoln wheat cents in general. The design, introduced in 1909, was the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure. Abraham Lincoln's portrait symbolized unity and strength. The wheat reverse design ran until 1958, making it one of the longest-running designs in U.S. coinage history, but among all wheat cents, the 1944D steel stands near the top of the rarity pyramid. Now you may be wondering, how much is it really worth? In past major auctions, genuine examples of the 1944D steel wheat penny have sold for well over $100,000 depending on condition. Exceptional specimens have reached values approaching $200,000. Even lower-grade authenticated pieces command extraordinary six-figure prices because of their extreme rarity. Think about that 0.1 cent struck by mistake. Worth more than many homes. This is why coin collecting is not just a hobby. It is a treasure hunt through history. Every coin tells a story. And some stories are worth a fortune. So if you ever come across a 1944 penny that looks silver, do not ignore it. Do not clean it. Do not alter it. Test it with a magnet carefully. Weigh it. And most importantly, consult a professional grading service, because hidden in plain sight, among ordinary copper pennies, could be one of the most valuable Lincoln cents ever produced, and that is the magic of numismatics. Ordinary people. Extraordinary discoveries. Life-changing history in the palm of your hand. Stay curious. Keep searching. And who knows, the next rare treasure might already be waiting for you. Coin 3. We are diving into one of the most mysterious and exciting coins ever discovered in American pocket change history. If you love rare coins, hidden treasures, and unbelievable minting mistakes, then stay with me until the very end, because this story of the 1944's mint mark silver Lincoln Wheat Penny is something every collector and coin lover needs to hear. Picture this. It is 1944. The world is in the middle of World War II. The United States is saving copper for ammunition and military equipment. In 1943, pennies were made from zinc-coated steel instead of copper. Then in 1944, the U.S. Mint switched back to copper using recycled shell casings from the war. That is why most 1944 pennies you find today are made from a copper alloy, but here is where the mystery begins. A very small number of 1944 pennies were accidentally struck on leftover steel planchets from 1943. And when that rare mistake happened at the San Francisco Mint, it created what we now call the 1944's silver wheat penny. At first glance, this coin looks unusual because instead of the normal reddish copper color, it has a silver or gray appearance, just like the 1943 steel cents. That is the first clue. If you ever see a 1944 penny that looks silver, do not ignore it. That could be life-changing. The coin still features the classic Lincoln wheat design created by Victor David Brenner. On the front, you see Abraham Lincoln facing right, with the word Liberty to the left and the date 1944 to the right. Below the date, you will find the small S mint mark, which tells you it was struck at the San Francisco Mint. On the back, the design shows two wheat stalks framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. The reason this coin is so rare is simple. It was never supposed to exist. When the mint transitioned from steel back to copper in 1944, a few leftover steel blanks were accidentally fed into the presses. That mistake produced only a tiny number of steel cents dated 1944. Most were struck in Philadelphia. Even fewer were made in San Francisco. That makes the 1944's steel wheat penny one of the rarest Lincoln cents ever produced. Experts believe that only a handful of genuine examples exist. Some estimates suggest fewer than 5 confirmed pieces from the San Francisco Mint. Think about that. Out of billions of pennies produced in the 1940s, only a few of these survive. Now here is something extremely important for collectors. Many 1944 copper cents have been plated with steel or coated to look silver. Others are altered 1943 steel cents with the last digit changed to look like a 4. So authentication is everything. A real 1944's steel penny will stick to a magnet because it is made of steel. A normal 1944 copper penny will not. But even that test is not enough. Professional grading and authentication from trusted services is essential before celebrating. What makes this coin even more exciting is the historical connection. It represents a transitional era between wartime steel production and the return to copper coinage. It is a physical reminder of how global events shaped even the smallest objects in everyday life. Every time you hold a Lincoln wheat penny from that era, you are holding a piece of World War II history. Collectors are fascinated by mint errors, especially transitional errors. These are coins struck on the wrong metal during a change in composition. The 1944's steel penny is considered one of the king-level transitional errors in American numismatics. Condition also plays a massive role in value. If a genuine 1944's steel wheat penny is found in circulated condition with wear, scratches, and marks, it is still worth an incredible amount because of its extreme rarity. If one is discovered in uncirculated condition with sharp details, strong luster, and minimal contact marks, it becomes a true trophy coin. Serious collectors compete fiercely whenever one appears at public auction. These coins do not show up often. Years can pass without a public sale. And when they do appear, the bidding can be intense, with collectors, investors, and even museums interested in owning such a historic mistake. Let us talk about what makes it different from a regular 1944's copper penny besides color. The weight is slightly different because steel cents weigh less than copper cents. The surface texture also looks different under magnification. Steel cents often show a slightly grainy appearance due to the zinc coating process used in 1943 planchets. Over time, steel coins may also show rust spots if the zinc layer has worn away. Another interesting detail is how these coins were discovered. Some were found decades later in circulation, mixed in with normal change. Imagine buying a loaf of bread in the 1950s or 1960s and receiving one of the rarest pennies in existence without even knowing it. Stories like that keep collectors searching rolls of pennies even today. The Lincoln Wheat series itself, minted from 1909 to 1958, is one of the most popular series in American coin collecting. Key dates like the 1909 SVDB and the 1914 D are famous, but the 1944 South Steel Center sits in a completely different category because it was created by accident. The excitement around this coin is not just about money. It is about discovery, history, and the thrill of the hunt. Coin collecting is one of the few hobbies where a tiny piece of metal can connect you to the past and possibly change your financial future. If you think you may have a 1944 silver-looking penny, here is what to do. First, check the date carefully under magnification. Make sure the 4 has not been altered. Second, look for the S mint mark below the date. Third, test it gently with a magnet. If it sticks, that is your first major sign. But do not clean the coin. Do not scratch it. Do not attempt to polish it. Cleaning can destroy value instantly. Instead, take it to a professional coin dealer or submit it to a respected grading service for authentication. Now let us talk about real market value and auction results. Because of its extreme rarity, there is no small change value here. In past verified public sales, genuine examples of the 1944 steel wheat penny have sold for more than $400,000. In higher grades, auction prices have reached over $1 million depending on condition and demand at the time of sale. Yes, you heard that correctly. A 1-cent coin with a face value of 1 cent has sold for over $1 million at auction because of a minting mistake and historical importance. That is why collectors say always check your change. You never know what treasure could be hiding in plain sight. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the rarest and most valuable Lincoln Wheat pennies ever made, make sure you stay tuned for more incredible coin stories. The world of rare coins is full of surprises, hidden history, and life-changing discoveries. And who knows, the next valuable coin we talk about might already be sitting in your pocket right now.